The movie opens with John and Karen, a married couple whose relationship has completely fallen apart. They live in the same house but barely speak to each other. Even at dinner, they sit in separate rooms. The only thing they still share is watching television together. One evening, while watching TV, a news report announces that a mysterious virus is spreading rapidly across the world. John dismisses the news, claiming that it is all propaganda created by pharmaceutical companies to make money. According to him, they are making people sick and calling it a pandemic. Karen finds his claims ridiculous and ignores him. Frustrated, John leaves the room. Karen remembers she had something important to discuss with him but decides to wait until morning. The next morning, John wakes up and begins getting ready for work. He suddenly notices a large hole in the bathroom wall and rushes out of the apartment to see what has happened. Karen calls after him, saying she needed to talk, but John keeps running. Outside, he is shocked to discover that a plane had crashed into their building during the night. Most of the nearby apartments are destroyed or burned, but their home remains intact. Soon after, John learns from the news that the virus reported the previous night has spread at an alarming rate. Everyone is advised to stay indoors. He immediately returns home and tells Karen everything. She does not believe him until sirens start echoing through the city. The couple looks out the window and witnesses chaos on the streets. People are turning into zombies and attacking others to satisfy their hunger. Terrified, they switch on the television again and see official confirmation that the virus causes humans to turn into flesh-eating creatures. The broadcast warns citizens to remain inside their homes and avoid all human contact. Karen rushes to the kitchen and checks their supplies. They have barely enough food for 1 or 2 days. The stress overwhelms John, and he begins vomiting from panic. Karen comforts him and insists that they must be brave. She suggests taking food from the neighboring apartments, arguing that it is not theft but survival, since the city is under lockdown and no police will come. After much hesitation, John agrees. He ventures out and soon returns with a large supply of food, explaining that the apartment across from theirs was unlocked and empty. Karen is surprised. Now it is Karen's turn. Though frightened, she does not want to appear weak. She wears a helmet, tapes knives to her shoes and wrists, and steps out. She also returns with plenty of supplies. Later, she tells John to bring the large television from the apartment next door, as both of them love watching TV. When they set it up and turn it on, the news anchor announces that it will be the final broadcast. After this, there will be no more updates. Even the journalists are going into lockdown. From now on, only the radio will be used for communication. Before signing off, the anchor warns viewers to stay home and avoid contact with anyone. Soon, an announcement echoes through the streets instructing survivors to mark an X on their windows so rescue teams can identify them. John and Karen tape a large X on their window. However, when helicopters pass nearby twice, they fail to notice the couple's apartment. Disappointed, John falls asleep. The next morning, he wakes to find the apartment filled with items Karen has taken from others, expensive clothes, jewelry, and decorations they do not need. John, who despises stealing, tells her that once the pandemic ends, everything must be returned. Days pass. The sound of zombies in the building grows louder. The couple locks every window and door, gathering weapons from around the house, knives, scissors, and hammers. John teaches Karen how to use a lighter and spray can as a flamethrower, while Karen shows him how to use household objects like floor powder to blind attackers. After preparing for the worst, they sit down to play cards to calm their nerves. Suddenly, a government announcement on the radio reports that the virus has spread to several regions. The military is working to contain it, and utilities like water and electricity will remain available. Everyone is told to stay inside and mark their windows for rescue. John and Karen have already done so, but no one has come. Karen feels hopeless, while John remains optimistic, saying that pandemics come and go, but humanity always survives. His positivity only frustrates her further. Sinking into depression, Karen starts drinking. When John scolds her, she reveals that she has been drinking every morning for months. John finally understands her pain. She leads him to a storage room filled with their late daughter's belongings. Their baby had died at birth, and the trauma had left Karen unable to have children again. The grief had consumed her ever since. Karen tells John that they too will die soon, but John comforts her, promising that they will take care of each other. From that day forward, the couple begins to train themselves physically to fight if the zombies attack. Days turn into weeks. One afternoon, they hear knocking at the door and rush to open it, believing it might be a rescue team. Instead, a group of zombies tries to force their way inside. Karen holds the door while John fights them off. After several minutes, they manage to secure the apartment again. Later, the radio reports that scientists are developing a vaccine for survivors. Despite the glimmer of hope, life for John and Karen remains grim. They begin smoking to cope with the stress, and when that fails, Karen gives John some pills stolen from a neighbor's apartment. One morning, A gunshot echoes through the house. John accidentally breaks a vase, a gift from his mother, while practicing with a gun. Furious, she lashes out. Karen goes to shower and sees helicopters passing overhead once again, not stopping. The constant noise of zombies outside grows louder with each passing day, and the two begin relying heavily on drugs to numb their fear. John soon realized that their current routine was not helping. One day, he told Karen that they needed to resume their training. Together, they brought out a punching bag and began practicing self-defense. They scattered broken glass jars outside the apartment door to keep zombies from entering and crafted small homemade bombs from alcohol bottles that could explode when ignited. They had prepared for every possible danger, and soon, that danger arrived. A knock came at the door. John and Karen froze. If it was a rescue team, ignoring it could cost them their chance at survival. But if it was zombies, opening the door could mean death. Fully armed and ready, they cautiously opened the door a little, and were relieved to find their neighbors standing there. John quickly invited them inside. The couple explained that the plane crash from earlier had destroyed part of their apartment. To survive, they had hidden in their bedroom for several days before breaking through to the upper floor. When they finally escaped, they found their entire apartment overrun by zombies. With nowhere else to go, they had decided to come to John and Karen's apartment after noticing signs of life inside. The neighbors hadn't eaten for days, so John shared some of their food with them. Karen immediately scolded him, upset that he was giving away supplies meant for their own survival. John calmly replied that helping others in such times was the right thing to do. As the new couple settled in, the wife glanced around the room and whispered to her husband that some of the items, the television and certain dresses, looked familiar. She then confronted Karen, accusing her of stealing them from their home. Karen denied it, though the accusation was true. Angered and humiliated, she wanted to throw them out but couldn't act without John's approval. Instead, she decided to compromise. She told the neighbors that they could stay as long as they helped with household chores in exchange for food. That evening, they all chatted quietly to pass the time. When night fell, the neighbors asked where they could sleep. Karen pointed to a mattress in the lounge. The neighbor woman sneered, mocking the small apartment and boasting that their own home had several rooms. The comments irritated Karen deeply. Later, she complained to John that the guests were not only ungrateful but also insulting. Yet, she hesitated to throw them out, worried about what others might think of them once the pandemic ended. Over the next few days, tension between the two women grew. Out of spite, Karen began making noise with John at night, knowing the sound would annoy her neighbor. The woman responded by behaving arrogantly as if she still owned the place, taking long showers in the morning and making Karen wait outside the bathroom just to prove a point. One evening after dinner, the neighbor's wife complained about doing all the cleaning and insisted that household chores should be shared equally from the next day onward. Karen smiled politely, pretending to agree, but secretly plotted revenge. When preparing dinner that night, she mixed the food with the same drug she had stolen from the neighbor's apartment earlier. The drug caused people to overeat uncontrollably and could easily lead to an overdose. Within hours, both guests collapsed into a deep sleep, one they would never wake from. The next morning, when they failed to move, Karen panicked. After checking, she realized they had died from the overdose. Fearing blame, she and John decided to dispose of the bodies quietly, dragging them outside the apartment. However, as they discussed what to do next, the horrifying sound of movement stopped them. The dead couple began to stir, now transformed into zombies. Terrified, Karen grabbed a gun and shot them both before they could attack. The couple then threw the bodies out once again and cleaned up the mess. That night, neither of them could sleep. Haunted by guilt and exhaustion, they took sleeping pills and fell into a deep, heavy sleep. While they slept, soldiers patrolled the streets outside, announcing through loudspeakers that any survivors inside the building should turn on their lights to signal for rescue. But John and Karen remained unconscious, missing yet another chance at salvation. When morning came, they awoke in silence. Despite everything they had endured, the fear, the chaos, and the violence, they realized that spending all this time together had brought them closer again. The distance that once existed between them had begun to fade, and the love they had long lost was slowly returning. Karen withdraws her plan for divorce and tells John that when the pandemic ends, she wants to adopt a child. To celebrate, John decorates their home and prepares a candlelight dinner. They share a happy evening together. Just as they are about to get close, another knock echoes through the door. Believing it to be soldiers, they open it, but instead, armed thugs disguised as military personnel burst in. Their leader slaps John, drags Karen by the hair, and orders his men to take their supplies. When the leader attempts to assault Karen, she fights back fiercely, killing him with a pair of scissors. The remaining men rush at her, but John shoots them both dead. They throw the bodies out and drink to calm their nerves. Soon after, real rescue helicopters appear outside. They shout and bang on the windows, but their cries go unheard. When they try to escape, The corridor outside is filled with zombies. During the chaos, zombie blood splashes onto John, infecting him. The helicopters fly away, leaving them trapped once more, without food or water. John promises to find supplies. Late that night, Karen wakes to find him sharpening wooden sticks, preparing to go out. She insists on going with him. They face a swarm of zombies, barely escaping with their lives. When they return, Karen realizes she has been bitten. She panics, fearing she will turn. John comforts her, saying that scientists have already developed a vaccine and he will get it for her. However, over the next few days, Karen's behavior changes. Karen finally admits that she feels an unusual kind of hunger, one that ordinary food cannot satisfy. She says she no longer wants to stay confined inside the apartment. John, trying to understand, quietly walks to the kitchen. Without hesitation, he cuts his hand, letting his blood drip into a glass. When he places it in front of Karen, the scent overwhelms her. She loses control and drinks it all. Instantly, she feels relief. But the realization horrifies her. She tells John that she cannot let him keep hurting himself just to feed her hunger. John simply replies that he is not doing it out of obligation, he is doing it willingly, because he wants to be with her, and because he still believes help will arrive. After their conversation, John realizes how erratic he has been. He embraces Karen tightly and apologizes. Karen tells him to bandage his wound quickly, explaining that the smell of his blood is only making her hunger worse. Later, when Karen goes to take a bath, dark thoughts fill her mind. She contemplates ending her life, unable to bear what she is becoming. But before she can act, they spend the night together in each other's arms. When morning comes, John wakes up to an empty bed. Karen is gone. Panic sets in as he searches the apartment, finally discovering a note on the bathroom door. In it, Karen thanks him for giving her a beautiful life and writes that she has been having nightmares about turning into a zombie. She does not want him to suffer because of her transformation. The note ends by saying she has locked herself inside the nursery. Terrified, John rushes to the nursery and forces the door open. Inside, he finds Karen completely transformed, her eyes empty, her movements no longer human. Around her neck hangs a note that reads, "Love me or kill me." John is devastated. He takes a drink, trembling, then picks up a gun. Tears fill his eyes as he aims at the woman he loves, unable to decide what to do. Suddenly, loud knocking echoes through the apartment. The military has finally arrived. When they reach the nursery, they make a horrifying discovery. Both John and Karen have turned into zombies. John had been unable to kill her. Instead, he had chosen to become like her, to share her fate, whatever it might be. Following orders to eliminate all infected on site, the soldiers open fire, ending both of their lives instantly. The movie closes on their tragic end, two people who could not survive the apocalypse, yet refused to live without each other. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked it.